Welcome all. Very challenging times. The magnitude is hard to predict. Orders have been cancelled. Companies are stuck with stocks at every stage. Payments are stuck. Will you pay your landlords? Will you pay your taxes? You have to take care of your employees. There would be cash crunch concern. Import from China is a great concern. Consumers would be more nervous to shop. It's already a question of survival. There's a lot of speculation in the market. The anticipated impact on footwear consumption is estimated to decline by 25%. Earnings would be down by 40-50%. Operating costs would increase by 35%. The ticket size of spending will drop for a while. People will spend on cheaper goods. The big fat Indian wedding would be hit. Dollar might hit 90 rupees. See limited customers in the malls and stores. With lower sales, should we expect lower rental rates? Well, predicting the future is very difficult. Mr. Sandeep Kataria, MD Bata India, shared a very interesting bit of information on retail. In Singapore, only 1% is allowed per 160 square feet, which means a 1,000 square foot showroom, only 7 people would be allowed. So for a retailer like Bata, which deploys 6 staffers, what does it mean? If a customer comes with his family, then the staff actually will have to go out of the showroom. On the government front, government's priority is to address the issue of agriculture, pharma and hospitals, not manufacturers and traders as of today. The government is taking decisions on national level and not on sectorial level. Government needs to concentrate on mass health and mass welfare. Mr. Akil Ahmed, Chairman, Council for Leather Export, Mr. Adesh Gupta, Chairman, CII Leather Committee and CFLA, heads of many associations like SIFI, FMAC, Footwear Wholesalers Association, Agra Shoe Manufacturers Association, many more associations have already approached the government at all levels for a relief package for the sector. Let's hope something should come through. Well, today the question is survival. Survival as a business. Survival would be about cash. The cash engine needs to be going. No matter what activity you are in, be it retail or manufacturing, distribution or supply chain, cash rotation would be the key. Beg, borrow, do whatever, but do not steal. Business must pay up their vendors, since we are all vendors in some form. Through this forum, we would like to hear from our guest speakers to share thoughts on how we as an industry, as a sector, should move ahead. Now, before we move on, I would like to state that my presentation skills might not match Arnav Goswami and many of the likes. So please don't judge my anchoring skills. We are going to try to guess what the future of retail and manufacturing will look like. On that note, let's understand and hear from the demand side first. Well, Nitish, thank you for joining in. Now you head and run 200 stores. In addition to that, you have 100 plus store-in-stores. Now you source products across state lines and borders. So with 300 plus Reliance footprint stores in India, you as a big retailer, what path are you thinking to take post?
India, consumption will be there. I don't feel I'm very optimistic person. Think as a company, as a retailer, we will see the smooth supply chain after once we open. So a lot of requirement which we bringing from China, we would like to do from India. If I get what I want in my cost, definitely I will try to source from India. Anti-China sentiment will work, and it depends how government act and how we as a fraternity can take advantage of those sentiments. But definitely as a retailer also in India, I would like to make my lead time shorter. Right. From China, my lead time is 4 months, 5 months. If I can get what I want from locally, I would love to source from India. Right, Amit?
Yeah. So I have a concern on behalf of the manufacturers and brands. All of them are sitting with a lot of stocks. Would the bigger chains and online players exploit the manufacturers and brands to supply at low prices or low margins?
Look, definitely there will be some kind of war on the cost. Look, there will be discounting. Every retailer is full of stock also today. So they will also go in the market with a lot of discount to clean. A lot of retailers have ordered AW merchandise.
Right.
Already. So that is on way. SS20 has not sold out. So definitely there will be war in terms of liquidating merchandise and then cost negotiation with the suppliers. So this is a time little bit to reduce margin by retailer as well as with the manufacturer also.
Right. So, okay, on the collection side, In the US and Europe, brands and retailers have already started working on spring summer 21 collections.
Correct.
So, like a post-war scenario, people do not like to see or talk about sad and difficult times. So, what would be your focus as a buyer? What kind of collections would you buy? Would it be happy moods, happy colors? What do you think would be the next collection that one should start thinking on?
I have to take a risk. I will take more in my core product, my best seller. I feel the next 6 months, 1 year, in terms of fashion innovation will be less. But yes, I said that product innovation in terms of which can little help human psychology to feel little protective will help. I feel that Crocs kind of product will be in market huge because it is a washable. Keep in mind in last third quarter, October, November, December, we need some freshness. What I feel if we are going to open in this lockdown, especially
Right.
more.
That's quite I mean, you shared quite a positive note on the buying and everything else. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you, Nitesh. We'll
Yeah,
get some
Mr.
other views.
Yeah. Mr. Anupam Bansal, please.
3 to 4 months would be a challenge, but I see a great opportunity. Definitely, my stores are fully ready with the hygiene kit, which we spoke about, the sanitizers and the masks. I think we have already got them the supplies to get the store open. I will share a few other interesting ideas which I had and we had experienced. So all our managers were given a task of contacting all the customers, about 5 lakh database which we had in our CRM data. And our managers made calls to the customer talking about their well-being and their requirement of footwear, which we could supply them after the lockdown. In fact, more than 50 to 70% people felt that they were wanting to come footwear and they appreciated the company's gesture. So I think keeping in touch with the consumer is very, very important. Today, talking about the supply chain, I think everybody, all of us have a lot of stocks. We should not go into a panic mode of distress selling. I think after 2, 3 months, the market would have a very, very positive outlook. People would come back to stores or look at online or home delivery options or a different option suitable for everybody. There would be little surge, or I would say downsizing in demand of about 20 to 25% on an annualized basis, which could be more in the beginning phase and later, the demands would come back to the normal. Looking at the manufacturing side, definitely we should focus on opening retail and the consumption before the production. And I think 1 month after the sales are opened, the productions would get into full gear. We really feel looking at the anti-China movement or localizing, a lot of production would happen locally. And I would like to say that Liberty is geared and welcome all my fellow retailers which are on the panel, all my fellow importers who are on panel, that we will be willing to do a lot of OEM production and support the industry, whether the raw material or the ancillary, to make the Indian footwear industry grow much faster. So today, I would like to be united with all the people in terms of either the raw material consumption or manufacturers. Our product development team is already working on a lot of products which would be suitable. Definitely the middle price points would be the key. The washable products which we spoke about would be the key. And we are thinking of developing something called a homeware collection, which is very comfortable to wear at home, which have very easy, taking in and taking out in terms of wearing in. So I think a lot of innovations are going to happen. So Amit, back to you.
If I was to talk, thank you, Anupam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anupam, in fact, compliments on celebrating your 67th Founders Day in the month of April. So amidst, sort of lockdown, it was really wonderful for you to celebrate. And I don't think that was symbolism. It meant a lot. It really sort of amplified the energies that all of you carry within the Liberty Group. So happy without a prompt. You really come up with such a fantastic sort of derivative, sort of assuring your channel partners and your vendor partners who are watching you. So wonderful, really wonderful. Without a prompt, whatever I wanted you to really check out with you. Thank you so much, Anupamji. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So Nakul, if I was to talk of Make in India program, I would say it has two imperatives. One is India for India, and then India for the world, right? And we all been hearing talks about, the custom duty typically being amended, so to suit the Indian manufacturers, right? Now, how does it take shape is something that we don't know as yet. Is it going to be on the complete shoes, going to be at the component? We really need to see. What is going to be your one single message to the authorities?
Increase in import duties is a welcome gesture in terms of finished goods, because it will give us huge opportunities to do developments in terms of products which are being imported, like sports shoes, kids shoes, light shoes, which are still, India has a lot of scope to do that. But if I talk about the raw material segment, uh, Indian footwear domestic consumption under a 1500 MRP has still has a huge chunk of synthetic footwear, that is synthetic uppers, that is imported from China. Having said that, I feel it is a huge opportunity for all our ancillary raw material manufacturers. Like we've seen earlier in the PVC upper manufacturing industry, in the last 3-4 years, the PVC uppers have evolved as a product, and they have taken over a big chunk of the PU uppers that were imported earlier. The clients are looking at sourcing footwear from India rather than China. So are we as manufacturers looking at sourcing our raw materials from India rather than importing it from outside. Sorted out very soon, and we are able to do Jute Do Paise Lo again.
Wonderful. So, Jute Do Paise Lo is, I think, a wonderful statement to make. And I think what you are assuring the larger audience is that you're willing to very happily co-op with a lot of raw material suppliers and a lot of ancillary here in India, so that all of you can work hand in hand. I think which is a great imperative, and we should look at it. A lot of management gurus, marketing gurus, industry experts typically are coming up with a particular statement or a sort of advisory that it's time, looking at the increased cost of manufacturing that's going to be there in short term and mid term. It's going to be sort of important and imperative for manufacturers to look at additional set of customers and maybe additional categories. In your scheme of things, I know you run your own brands and Fisco very successfully, but do you think it's going to be also to look for additional customers for the OEM business per se? How are you preparing yourself and your setup to really take up that challenge?
This is true. We will be searching for the new customers as well. I think the B2B is going to be a very good platform where we can catch up. So I think the e-commerce and Wi-Fi and internet is going to play a major role in all these coming days.
Positive things I think are going to make a difference for all the stakeholders.
No guarantee that the lockdown will be lifted on 3rd of May. Post-lockdown question of what is essential, what's non-essential would drop off. For all we know, there might be a second lockdown. Should we prepare for a post-lockdown scenario? Or best possible scenario would be Diwali?
I don't know if we can really prepare for an immediate thing of whether what's going to happen immediately after lockdown or for Diwali for that matter. But I think what we need to do is use this time, prepare ourselves to survive. And that is what is critical. And the survival will only happen if we are able to conserve things what we have right now. You know, the challenges that we really face right now is you need to align yourself with your workforce and your staff to make them partners of, you know, a survival and a revival plan. You know, align ourselves with everybody, with our workforce as well as our vendors, to give them the confidence that yes, there is going to be continuity. You know, obviously we need to reach out to our customers, align with them to understand what their requirements are. As key decisions that we have taken, not to import anything from China and prepare everything and make everything ourselves. We are going to invest along with our vendors, so align ourselves with you know, institutes like FTDI to, since there are students on the platform right now, help you know, put in scholarships into place, to put in internship programs into place, to really support the Indian cause, the Indian Make in India dream. I think this is a great opportunity for us to align ourselves to that dream. I would request, honestly, you know, people like Nitish and other people who are major buyers to actually, while it is important and critical to look at financial benefits in terms of obviously the best pricing, but if they do support the Indian manufacturers at this point and give them the opportunity to put together a product and a pricing strategy, I think we can win this war and definitely come out strong. So once things open, we will be out there celebrating, and hopefully that will trigger into a demand which we are all preparing for, you know, at our end to fulfill.
On pricing, do you think people would be looking for cheaper prices, cheaper goods?
It's not the question of whether they will look for discounts or better pricing. I think we need to, like I said earlier, align our products to their demand. That if they feel that, you know, the price point is going to be the magic price point, 1,500 rupees for a pair of leather shoes, or whatever, 1,800 rupees for a pair of leather shoes, how can I make it cost effectively to be able to put money in the pocket of the distributor and the key account, and yet make money at our end?
What about discount? It's projected number of customers visiting stores would be reduced due to restrictions and safety concerns. The working hours of stores would be reduced. So do you think discounting would help if there are no customers?
I don't think that we can stop that at all. Everybody will look for a discount, especially the challenges on the online space. I think is going to be tremendous for the offline, between the offline and the online players. I don't think that we can stay away from discounting. The reality is that there is going to be discounting, rampant discount.
If your neighbor goes in for a deep discount, your neighboring retailer, the best way is to put a board outside your store saying main entrance.
The solution is that simple. If it is, then I think customer is king. Let the customer be happy for a change. I think by giving them what they want, because they also need a reason to celebrate and get out of this tough times that we are all facing right now.
Surely. So would you be focusing on loungewear, work from home lines? Have you pondered over recession-proof fashion or lines like that?
We're focusing on being fashionably Indian. We're very proud to be an Indian brand aligned to the Indian cause. And I think that's the communication that we're putting forward to the customers. Try to be, giving fashion a priority. Obviously, it is going to be affordable fashion. That's going to be the theme. Loungewear obviously now is getting out of that mode of being in loungewear and getting into workwear. I think we need to get them out of their houses and into the stores and into the work situation.
Humor in the times of lockdown has got various derivatives and connotations. Thank you so much. And thank you, Musafir sir, for bringing in this core thought on resilience and sort of, self-build-up and co-op and working hand in hand. I think that's brilliant. You've really been brilliant, sir. A lot of students who've been hearing you, it's going to be magical for them. Okay, Sanchit, if you want us to look at newer avenues, institutional business for that matter. Now, institutional business, for lots of reasons, really hasn't picked up, at times underrated. So, A, is that what are your thoughts on institutional business? Because then that merchandise either goes to the government or to the corporate, wherein the challenges on the payouts are going to be far lesser. Is that going to be a savior?
Institutional can be a game changer, but in the coming scenario, I don't see it is going to get tougher, where cost cuttings definitely are going to happen and institutional buys would be on a back foot. But in the long run, if you see, institutional can be a game changer for somebody who's ready to set up a proper team. Yes, brands are doing them, but there is a lot of space in the institutional category which is lying vacant. Even in government contracts, there are a lot of policies by the government in which MSMEs are supposed to get benefits, which we people, I'm talking about the Agra market specifically, are lacking behind in.
There's so much of discussion about the tech piece, about digital marketing, about newer set of customers and online per se. So you think going forward along with the OE business that you're doing, there could be a sort of a possibility for you to raise your private labels and white labels and sort of reach out to sort of entities which have the expertise to take you on board?
That is definitely the number one thought on my mind, and I think it should be number one on all the manufacturers' mind, to start a private label which can in the long run become a brand. Online marketing, when you are getting into it, you are catering to a much wider audience, much wider price range. Patience is going to be the key over there. In future, where the customer wants to feel safe while shopping, people would not want to step out. It is the next big thing which I would definitely love to focus on.
So, Naveen, how captive you think this whole sort of niche coming up now, wherein, large manufacturers which already have a base, but probably is sitting on extra capacity, and now have the inclination to also go online, maybe they loan the acumen. But don't you think it's a great opportunity for all these people also to look at sort of service providers like you, to take them to the next level and help them to generate revenue?
Online has made the go-to-market much simpler. I will put in a word of caution that it isn't as it was probably 3 or 5 years back, where there was a lot of experimentation time to go wrong and then make another attempt to make it right. The margins of error being really small. It's about doing it correctly. The online is a much easier business to operate, but is a fairly tough business to make money in. But I think right now, focus on business to make money in. Like Google, Facebook, etc. have been able to drop their ad rates to nearly 30% of business as usual. So even with conversions being at 1/3, the net effect is about the same, because what we'll need to kind of figure out is focus on where is the sale going to come from, and it really has to come from millennials and Gen Z as they call it, which primarily is going to move online in the next 6 months, as we all see. So, we were on another panel with Big Basket the other day. One of the big differences between essentials and non-essentials is the basket itself. I think what's happened is the basket there has become of only 1/10 the size and actually a lot more volume there. I think in our space, and the reason why I talk about basket is because private label ends up having lots of options. So bringing that option pool out there at a price point sensitivity, what Musafirji mentioned as affordable fashion, there is a clutter in the market, but if done right, clearly sale opportunity to build up. The discounting is anyway going to be there, even from brands as well as private labels. The online play has enough and more in terms of penetration. The volume is tremendous, as we've probably seen during online event. I think brands as well as private labels can really utilize these 6 months to mobilize the entire staff and orientation and have them a little more tech enabled, as well as rethinking on digital a bit more.
But given the times, if we can sort of look at a omni-channel experience as a proposition on a lower discount, do you think the portals and the service providers like you and the brands can work together in a modern manner, wherein we could also rope in the sort of structured MBOs, the mom and pop stores also, to make the whole thing very inclusive?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I didn't want to overdo the word omni-channel because it's a big buzzword at webinars, but this omni-channel was something that just came from the supply side, that, okay, it's one of those things to do. Right now, I think more from an offline perspective, there's a demand for omni-channel, and it's for customers who are offline to be able to really service their customers online. It's for brands. I think that this time will make it more real. I think in terms of seamless extension, it really helps cross-skill staff between online and offline, utilize stores, because that's where the assisted conversion is 10 times higher than pure play online only. Inventory sitting at any location really should be exposed to be able to serve a customer, but now there are very good systems in place. For example, we as well have a technology platform that is synced with all the online and offline processes.
It's not about India. The entire world has collapsed. So exports cannot be the only solution for manufacturers. I believe getting the economy to move within India is the best way for revival. So should we treat this as another golden opportunity to rise as manufacturing, exporting nation? How do we navigate the complexity of supply disruption brought on by trade barriers, border closures, and market lockdowns?
We exporters need both the worlds of domestic as well as exports. I think this is the time to reset our strategy, to reset our mindset, and to reset our skill sets. I think these are extraordinary times and we require extraordinary approach. So the new product that we see while talking to brands abroad, and I think this will also hold good for domestic, is that the product has to be good for you, it has to be good for environment, it has to have a social impact. In a nutshell, sustainability will be of paramount importance. Second, the future landscape will be of low growth and compressed environment. Products will have less display value but more utility value. So we need speed of execution, coordinated efforts between retailer and manufacturer. Third thing, the traditional operating models will become outdated. So customization, experience shopping, manufacturing, flexibility to create products across all prices. We are talking to the Commerce Ministry and also through CLE, and we are working on free trade agreements with a lot of countries, be it Europe, be it USA, be it Latin America, Chile, Peru. There is a huge undercurrent against China and huge positive sentiments towards India. We need to exploit this. For this, we need to create a marketing plan and create a very strong networking and image building for India. I think as far as India goes, our rural consumption is strong, is not affected fortunately by coronavirus. Our young population is not over leveraged. So a lot of things are positive for India. So I think in summary, what we need is that entrepreneurs need to understand more and fear less. Let us tame our fears, and we need to align and engage our strategies around consumer interest and values. Challenge your earlier beliefs. Please challenge your process. CLE is working very strongly, waiting for package from the government, and some packages are already announced. The export fraternity is very eager to handhold with the domestic brands. At these times, margins are not important. If we fill in those import substitute from China, we can be long-term players and make money.
Your thoughts on the best practices that can be adopted by the Indian manufacturers. What is it that could get them out of the distress, let's say the short term, mid term, long term?
My inputs are going to be purely based on what is happening in the strategy rooms of the French brands, footwear brands especially. The biggest children brand for footwear in Europe, we are working for them. And just to share certain data with you all, out of about 140,000 pairs of orders which we had for autumn-winter 20, the cancellation is just 3,800 pairs. So you can imagine that buyers are holding hands. It's not even 2%. At the same time, the biggest French brand for footwear, there I can take the name also, Iram. They have not cancelled a single pair for autumn-winter 20 orders. Rather, they are supporting the manufacturers and vendors in such a way that extension up to 4 to 5 weeks are given to the vendors who have been performing always. They want the trustworthy suppliers who can deliver on time, the agreed quality, and I request all the vendors not to overcommit to any brand for time to come. They are on a very careful watch for all the vendors and suppliers. So even if 10% of the business is lost by China, then the volume is going to be around 15 million pairs. Are we prepared for that kind of volume? 2 factories in Bangladesh who are preparing for this. We have been asked by a few of the very big large brands in France to look for some good factories who has not been working for Europe and French market. They are primarily working for US markets. We have been asked to explore avenues with them to work for European market. But we should be, as manufacturers, we should be investing in good costs. When I say good costs, I mean green technologies, chrome-free leathers, chrome-free lining, recyclable packaging materials, organic inks, and yes, as all the participants told, that washable shoes, washable footwear. But what buyers are looking right now is very innovative packaging. They are looking for ultraviolet chambers. They are looking for infrared chambers before and after the shoe is packed. They are looking for water-based adhesive. They are looking something which can be communicated to the end buyers in retail showroom.
Where do you see a role for yourself as, let's say, a retailer and a distributor, retailer more so, in this whole phenomenon of being hyper local? What are your thoughts and ideas in terms of let's say a product mix, and from work from home perspective, what changes you envisage for yourself?
I think this is a time when we have to have a collaborative approach. I see a lot of brands trying to jump into a B2C consumer concept right away. And the value chain is also equally important as being a distributor and a retailer for brick and mortar. So I don't know, once there is a cure for the coronavirus kind of thing, there are people who are coming back to the brick and mortar store. So if you're going to neglect the chain in a larger way, then you're going to have difficult times to rebuild the same chain. So this is a time to, like how everybody is looking at a collaborative approach, I would also want to have a collaborative approach right from the distributor. Whether the distributor's warehouse would be used for a B2B, would a brand like say Musafirji's brand, would they use it warehouse? Basically, a distributor is going to become a variable entrepreneur because everybody is looking at a variable cost. So we could distribute, like say, if there is a query for a shoe or something through an online portal, through their own portal, we could be using the last mile delivery. When we can reach the consumer at his own with a certain pin code at his own doorstep and give him a possibility of offering maybe two or three shoe sizes. If he's 6 and 7, he's confused, he wants a black or brown, which probably an online can't do it today. And which probably consumer is not willing to come out because of safety concerns out of his house, he could get a doorstep delivery. So we have to look at ways where brands and manufacturers can involve the local distribution arm, and we can become an extended arm for the brand. Another thing that I was looking for is cataloging. So I'm sure most of the smaller retailers or the big retailers, everybody will have to get on the technology platform. Whether you do online selling, you have your own website, whether you send emails to your consumers, your database, or you send a WhatsApp. So once we have these manufacturers who are manufacturing the product or the brands, and then they have a cataloging sent out to all the retailers, so that can be used as an extended arm. Whether we want to, I don't want to change the consumer from X brand to Y brand, but if I have a ready catalog for the X brand, I would like to sell that to my consumers in my database, and I can give a local delivery across the pin code over here, because I can not only have a tie with I am a distributor, but I can also have tie with my extended retailers. The mom and pop stores can do what other people may not be able to do doorstep delivery. So people have been asking us, what is the right way to sanitize a shoe? Because once a consumer has tried a shoe, you want to put it back in the try to put it back in the original way it was packed. So basically, what is the right way to sanitize the shoe, for a leather shoe, for a non-leather shoe?
But as you might have heard in the 2 days back, research paper has also come from US that ultraviolet rays of sun are the best medium to sanitize anything.
Question is, if I have to buy a shirt, I would not like to try any shirt which has been tried by somebody else at the showroom.
That's a very, very critical question. How the retailers are going to take care inside the showroom for trial and things like that.
Green drive. We were all moving towards organic, green, everything is recycled. So what would be the scene now of recyclable products, recycled polymers? Would that attract demand, or we need to move on to anti-COVID?
So one thing for sure, what we are feeling is by all our brands and customers that all will really focus on environmental friendly polymers nobody would really be focusing again back on those, PVC or the low cost materials, because every product and everyone is now innovating to get low cost, better materials. So I believe it's a really good time to move on to the environmental friendly polymers and water based adhesives, PPR over PVC, and such types of products.
Now, China. Everything is coming from China. All kinds of raw materials come from there, whether it's medicine. We are completely dependent on China for raw materials. Are Indian manufacturers thinking of raw material to be supplied from India, exported from India?
Amit, definitely it's a very relevant point, and replacing China in the supply chain is a uphill task. That's definitely something which is a key challenge in front of all the Indian component suppliers, because to have everything in India, the component guys really need to gear up. I believe for the sole and adhesive, the Indian petrochemical industry itself has been very strong from the past many years. We have strong players like Reliance Petrochemicals, LG Petrochemicals, Supreme Petrochemicals, who have been able to supply the styrenic based products, the rubbers, the solvents. So I believe in that India is really geared up. In fact, even if you talk about Sperry Group, we have enough capacity to meet multifold demand. So that is somewhere we are covered up at. But to cater the entire supply chain, like people spoke about PU upper and all these items, I think one thing which is lacking is the complete vendor management system. That is something to learn from the Korean and the Japanese companies. If you see these companies like Suzuki, LG, they have come in India and developed such a good ecosystem. They have all their vendors in India. They are delivering like other countries, same way from India. Maybe in footwear, that is something we should really focus on, how these companies have been able to transform that vendor management system. Ourselves are supplier to LG Samsung. We supply them molding and EPS parts. And that is where we see the way they treat the suppliers as their partner. There are regular training programs. They upgrade their vendors to the international standards. And that I believe should be the key mantra for footwear to, development of all the vendors, whether it is small and big, upgrade them so that as India, we become the number one manufacturing hub. We have the components in place, then definitely the footwear guys will be happy and we can, provide the solutions and not really be dependent on China.
The lead times would squeeze. From design to delivery, it would be significantly compressed.
Yeah.
If the companies that would receive end products late, they may need to mark down products, may pass on the discounts to manufacturers or to brands for delays in turn, who might push it back to you as a supply chain.
Yes.
So, are you thinking in terms of instant deliveries as a supply chain? Because you are almost at the first phase of the supply.
We have already been approached for discounts by a big brand, mainly operating in south of India. And today they are buying a huge quantity. So I think it is it is good for us if we agree to their demands for the moment until such time that things smooth out. The development, luckily for us, the development phase for the winter 2021 is over and the ordering had started, while the development for spring summer 21 is yet to do. That I think is a gone case, because I don't think customers are going to buy, but we are ready. Unfortunately, the terms that the government has put to restart the factories are pretty tough. Today only I have sent letters on behalf of IFCOMA, giving our representation as an urgent appeal for some help from the government. I've sent a CC to you also, and I also sent CC to ISF and CLE and CFI. So I think that more or less says our predicament.
Saying quickness and efficiency will be more important than ever. What can you do to squeeze the manufacturing process?
Switch to lean manufacturing, because we have to abide by the quality now. And the first thing we have to do is we have to improve the internal efficiencies of the manufacturing. We need to reduce the wastages that used to happen a lot of times.
Sort of resource, and they must be going through a bout of anxiety. So tell me, what's happening at FDDI? What are the sort of sentiments floating between the faculty and the students?
Problem is, right now, this young generation is at the threshold of their careers. We have a batch passing out. We have an ultimate batch which will be ready by July or August for the internship. We are on to our online classes. The courses are being developed online where the teaching is happening. But yes, we have new batches coming out. So a big challenge for them at this time, that life is never easy. Just think of it as a drive. We've come towards a speed bump. Where the speed bump, you need to change gears, and in the gears, you need to go to an earlier one step back. That means it should become this particular time should become a learning curve for you, whether it's online courses, building up your skill set, doing internships, and lots of other forums like this. And also, it is bringing in new kind of formats in the business sense. It may not be the same conventional businesses which were running earlier. Online is again a big platform where the students can reinvent themselves as budding entrepreneurs in affordable fashion, of course, but also taking our tradition and crafts forward. Indian crafts are rich in its own self. So taking all these forward should also be, one of the criteria where our students can build their businesses. We've seen few of our students who were earlier also, amalgamating the new embroideries, the patterns, designs into footwear and selling online. And online is a relatively easy business to understand for the students to sell. They don't need to invest in a lot of money. Still, I would like to question the industry also. How can they handhold or partner with FTDI skill set institutes to take these students forward so that there is no lacuna in their career growth or their learning path?
Let me take your ask and request for support to Mr. Musafir.
We can offer scholarships, and I think the other industry people over here as well need to reach out in similar manners, and internships. I think that is going to be critical. I think that's the need for the FTDI students to get real-time experience of industry, and obviously our factories are more than open for that experience whenever we can provide that. The other advice I can really give to the students is that this is a great time to really research and see that what are the best practices being done in other parts of the world in terms of when it comes to manufacturing practices or design ideas or things like that, because it's going to be challenging. Obviously, it's the survival of the fittest that's going to be happening. So when there is an opportunity to for a job opportunity, I think anybody who has some extraordinary information or skills will obviously be somebody that will be preferred over the others. There are some, while I'm a big advocate, and I said that earlier, of Make in India and blocking China, there are some great practices to be learned from China. And if we can actually, the students on the platform and in FTDI actually pick up some of those practices, and if we can introduce them into the industry over here, because it's fresh minds. Students have fresh minds, and I'm more than happy to welcome anybody who wants to approach us for any kind of internships, or for that matter, and any other things. So that's my real advice: that look for innovations, look for studying best practices, new design ideas. Keep the commercial angle in mind, because a lot of the times the students go a little bit haywire in their imaginations. I think this is not the time for that. Keep commercial angles in mind. The athleisure range is something everybody's spoken about. That's going to be something that's going to be relevant for current times. I think come up with great ideas, and we are here to support. That's what I can tell Jyoti.
Mr. Mohan, do you foresee digital sales to take over from present in more time? Is it possible for a lot of employees to not visit the office and still be productive?
Okay, see, like data is very important. If you look at the last 3 years growth story in India, India is the only country in the entire world, especially on the footwear consumption, has been growing at a CAGR rate of 7.8%. China is 3% and UK is minus 11% and US is 2%. If you look at that kind of a consumption, I still feel, I'm a positive person, I still feel India, maybe there is a 5-10% lower here and there. The consumption story will continue in India. That's my first take on the domestic. The second take is about the digital growth. Like last time also I had shared it with you when I was in Hong Kong in the SARS stock, and then Alibaba became the biggest one after the SARS. So today, if you look at the digital trade contribution vis-a-vis the total retail, it's about 3%, 2.8 to 3%. But in my opinion, definitely that will double, including the new entrant, Reliance Jio, and which is going to come in a very big way. The WhatsApp commerce and everything is going to be activated. And definitely the convenience is going to be the buzzword. And someone spoke about the omni-channel. In fact, the last 2 weeks, we have been kind of training our staff we signed with someone and on the omni-channel thing. The last 2 weeks, we have been training our staff how to execute it on those 73 stores what we have got today in the country. Is not a mere functional necessity. It's going to be a fashion statement of individuals. This is happening and it will continue to happen. And I am quite confident that the footwear sales will go on after 2-3 months of lull period once the malls and other things get open. And the last message I have for the exporters, I'm saying there's a very strong Indian sentiment, and someone also said that if the shift takes place, 15 million pairs comes to India. Are we ready to kind of deal with it? In fact, from CLE perspective, Mr. Akil Ahmed and also Mr. Selvam has come up with a paper to the government on the plug and play model, where the government could kind of this is a plug and play model is very very popular in China, and that's what really helped the Chinese industries to really grow up. In India also, like we are coming up with a paper, and the India Invest Corporation also is working on it under DPIIT, and I'm sure we have a fantastic opportunity. Yes, this is a time for a collaborative effort. The brands, the retailers, the landlords, and everyone has to come together and pitch it. And we forget things very fast, and we celebrate. And I'm sure we are going to have a much better time going forward. This is my take. Have I answered your question, Amit?
Yes, very well. Thank you so much. But this is of a concern that we forget very fast. I hope we don't re-enter China very fast.
Yeah, I don't think so. In fact, there are a lot of Chinese companies which are trying to kind of collaborate in India, whereby like the athleisure category which we spoke about. I know I'm happy to introduce people, manufacturers to those people who are willing to kind of do the design development and supply uppers in India and give the molds, help in developing the molds in India, so that all those production can be done in India with the 35% duty coming up on China. And from the Clark's perspective, let me tell you, the last 1 year, we shifted our entire base to Vietnam, Cambodia, and Bangladesh. We have only 2% of our production coming from China.
Ashwin Mehta, Reliance brand CEO, he shared some wonderful thoughts. He says you need to separate good cost and bad cost. Good cost is best employees, digitization, tech costs, marketing. You need to focus on. And bad cost is poor performance, old style of working, fancy office, unnecessary spending has to be ruthlessly eliminated. Time that we form a group, we need to have some kind of a process of payments. Most of the time, everybody in the chain is asking for their money. So why not have a group right from the supply end till the retail end, where we decide, okay, 45 days, 60 days, so that we, in the longer run, we start controlling and have better efficiency. Float this idea later with many other players.
I think, Amit, you should take the lead and float this idea. In fact, it has been we have been discussing on this twice, thrice, existent in Brazil, where the manufacturer, retailers, and the brand owners, they have a common platform. Today, we have different platforms.
Also, say if we go on the retail part, we can look at things like appointment-based retailing. Like a doctor takes the appointments, a retailer can take the appointment from the customers, and they can come up so that both are feeling more.
We are importing a lot of materials from China, but again, we need to think and get the integration done so that we can do something in India, make in India, and we need to get the support from the manufacturing side. If in China, when we talk about a lot of things, is a payment. A lot of the payments, they work on advance payments, they work on payments on the delivery and all those things. In India also, we need to come out with this so that automatically the channel partners can put the more capital into manufacturing actual product instead of putting it on the machines and instead of financing the other people.
What I feel that this COVID situation has given a more upper hand to China. They have already started functioning. Everything, if I place them orders, the orders I placed with them before the lockdown, they have already arrived at the port. We still cannot clear them, and they are ready to do each and everything and go above and beyond that also. How to upgrade ourselves, like as a component supplier for the industry, how can I reduce my dependence upon China? That challenge has grown even bigger.
Stop this, China, and I believe you all are winners, and you're going to win the game. You are in the center of the world. India is the center of the world. India going to win, and you're just depending on China. Stop this China.
Cannot be overnight. Cannot be overnight.
No, start now. Start now. I don't say start now. Go to the MSME ministry, talk to them. जो loans का तरीका है वो कुछ ऐसा किया जाए कि जो आपके repayments होने हैं अपने आगे तीनों को businessman, manufacturer, wholesaler and the retailer तीनों के पास एक क्रंच होगा. अगर इस पूरे चेन का क्रंच खत्म होता है तो ये दोबारा से अपने आप ही स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. जैसे तो मैंने गवर्नमेंट से ये रिक्वेस्ट करी है और मैं चाहूंगा आप लोग भी अगर इसको ठीक समझते तो प्लीज अपने अपने फोरम से बोलिए कि जो भी लोन दिया जाए वो रीपेमेंट्स के लिए दिया जाए, कि जो भी आपका आगे वेंडर उसकी रीपेमेंट्स करी जाए. इस तरीके से लोन्स का कुछ प्रोविजन हो जो 2 या 3% पे हो, जिससे अगली वाली पूरी चेन चल सके. क्योंकि हमारे साथ जो होलसेलर और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर जुड़े हुए हैं या रिटेलर जुड़ा हुआ सब हमारी फैमिली है. हमें एक ही लाइन पे उस पर देखना पड़ेगा. अगर उनको लोन प्राइस पे मिलता है वो हमें पेमेंट करें, लेकिन ये शर्त होनी चाहिए कि वो लोन की पेमेंट्स करने जो लोन ले रहा है वो उसकी रीपेमेंट आगे अपने वेंडर को ही करेगा.
This is what we decided in our last meeting. Cash is going to hit only to the retailers. Yeah. So as soon as the cash comes out to the retailer, we are expecting not to be hoarded at a retailer level, and it comes out to a wholesaler or to a manufacturer or whoever his vendor is. So that is only going to give oxygen to our industry. To an extent, what I think.
जो भी पॉलिसीज बनती है, they all are only the जो bigger player होते हैं. और हम लोगों के लिए जो माइक्रो इंडस्ट्रीज होती है उसको लेके इसमें पॉलिसीज बननी चाहिए.
One very important point I would like to make here is the problem of going to the government is we've got too many associations across the country. So first, all the associations need to come on one page. Every association goes with a different agenda, and the government would naturally,
absolutely right.
So, as associations, as councils, we all need to come on one page.
This is for sure. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So stay healthy, stay happy. Thank you so much, and a big Jai Hind to everybody. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Wonderful. Amit, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.